Hello everybody, Coach Stuart here. Hope everyone's doing well. Today I am bringing you another college recruiting educational video. Today I had the pleasure of interviewing Coach Emma Woodley at North Park University, the head women's soccer coach. Coach Emma spoke very passionately about her love for the game of soccer, her love for being a coach, and her love for D3 soccer. There's a lot of good information in this video, so hopefully you'll get something out of it and you can apply it to your own recruiting journey. Any questions, please let us know. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah, so obviously I'm Emma. I'm the head coach here at North Park University. I am actually, this is my first year as head coach, but I am not new to North Park at all. I actually played at North Park. I started in 2011, graduated in 2015, and then I was the graduate assistant coach for 2 years. And then I've been involved in the program kind of off and on ever since. And I've been working in admissions at North Park for the past 3 years. So I'll be adding, obviously, my perspective as a coach and what I do recruiting wise, but also offer a little bit of a unique perspective from the admissions standpoint, college admissions, working there for 3 years. I played forward. I'm originally from Colorado. What other fun facts? I grew up playing club soccer, high school soccer. Now I also coach club soccer as well at the Chicago Fire City. So I am familiar with local club soccer as well. But that's about a little bit of an overview of me and my background. North Park. So we are a small private school in the north side of Chicago, about Foster and Kedzie. So I would say we're about 30 to 40 minutes from central downtown Point. We are, like I said, small, so about 2,000 students, very intimate class setting. And, you know, just a couple things that really kind of make us unique. We're a pretty diverse campus. So diversity is something that's huge for us. We do have a Christian background, but we don't require students to have a religious affiliation to come to our school. So I think that's important to know as well. And then just really our connection being located in the city, as many of your players already know and understand that that's a valuable experience. But so we kind of take advantage of that. So I could talk forever and ever and probably go on, but that's a little bit of a brief overview of North Park and me and my background a little bit.
Perfect, it's quality. And I think a lot of our high school girls players especially know where you're located because we usually practice at River Park and we see you practicing over there. So nice location and beautiful campus as well. Yeah, which is great. So we'll jump into a couple of the questions then that we get from our parents and players. So a major or kind of a common question is, you know, when does recruiting start? So we've had people from freshmen asking, you know, is it too early as a freshman? Yeah. We've had seniors now saying, is it too late? So when do you usually, or what sort of, you know, year in school do you kind of look for players?
So I think the most important thing that I always tell people is it's both never too early and it's never too late. And so, you know, if as a freshman you feel like reaching out to a coach and you want to, you know, have a conversation or get to know the coach a little, you want to do your preliminary research, I would never say don't do that. I think it's important to do your research and kind of have a good idea of what schools are out there. I certainly did not do my research early on. So it's not, you know, you don't realize how many different options there actually are. So like I said, as a freshman, that's not necessarily too early, but you probably need to then respect the fact that coaches, you're probably not high on their priority list. At least, you know, for a Division III school, that we don't offer scholarships. We focus a little bit more, once it gets to your junior and senior year. So with that being said, freshman and sophomore year, I would say keep it very preliminary research. But then once you get into your junior and senior years, when you really want to kind of start forming those relationships with coaches, you know, I said at the beginning, it's never too late because it's also not too late. You know, I sometimes will get emails now, introducing themselves to me and I'll take a look and I'm like, sure, I'll take a look at, you as a player. But with that being said, pretty much the most pivotal time is probably, you know, your junior to senior year that summer when you're doing the showcases. And that, you know, unfortunately, for those seniors now, weren't able to do many of those. But reason I say that is specifically for our program being Division III is that's when we take a really strong look at both juniors and seniors. But for us, the seniors, it's a lot of the girls that aren't committed yet. And, you know, you kind of go from there. There isn't a perfect time, but I definitely would say that you should start forming those relationships with coaches or reaching out to them in your junior year so that then they can come watch you play, and kind of go from there. I know that was kind of all over the place. I guess the perfect answer is that there isn't a perfect answer and there's not one right answer. And I think that's a huge message that I find to be so important. I also coach, you know, like I said, at the Fire, and, you know, sometimes I'll coach high school girls and they think like, oh, aren't I supposed to already know what college I go to by my sophomore year? I'm like, no, it's fine. You don't need to know. You know, if you want to play, there's probably a school out there that you can play at. So, you know, I think definitely think about it, especially in your junior year, is to start building those relationships. But don't stress out about it by your senior year if you haven't.
Got it. Yeah. And I think that's a good takeaway. It's never too early, never too late. So
yeah,
that's good to hear from everyone. So in terms of, you mentioned about watching players go play. So we get a lot of the questions from our parents and players is, you know, what ID camp should I be going to? Should I be going to showcases or a bit of both? Or what's your kind of experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, both are good. I think I think that the best opportunity is in a showcase because it's a lot of players have relationships with their team and their coaches. And so you want them to be as comfortable and in their natural, you know, play. How do I want to say it? Like playing as naturally as possible, and comfortable as possible, something that they're regularly doing. I think ID camps are super beneficial as well. But I think, you know, that's why I say building a relationship. So if you start your junior year and you start forming this relationship with coaches are going to want to see you live in a game. And ID camps, you can do that a little bit, like with scrimmaging and stuff. But I think when you're playing and competing, and also to see the aggression and the competitive nature and, you know, cheering your team on, things like that, you don't get that as much at an ID camp. Again, that's not saying that, I mean, I will go to ID camps and you can get a lot, coaches can see a lot at ID camps as well. But I do think showcases are the most beneficial. And so that's why when you build those relationships and you send out those emails, coaches read them. And, you know, there's names of, you know, 200 girls in a player showcase book. But if you send an email to a coach, I'll notice you, or I'll make it a point to come watch your game. And I think that says a lot. So I would say showcases are the most beneficial for coaches, or at least what we like to see.
Perfect. And I don't know if you do this, because doing a lot of research for this myself, I didn't realize that a lot of smaller schools go to ID camps to the larger schools. So you might go to Loyola's or whatever. So do you do that yourselves? Do you take advantage of the bigger schools ID camps? Because I think a lot of parents think, you know, if I go to Loyola's camp, for instance, it's just Loyola, but there's actually quite a huge array of coaches there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pretty much anything local, if there is a camp or an opportunity to see someone play, I'll go there. So absolutely. And most of those camps, you're exactly right. It's not just for that school. There are specific camps that are, you know, like just for that school. Like, you know, it's probably two different, like I bet Loyola does two different types of camps. One camp where they have other coaches that come watch, but then they also probably have their own camp where it's just for if you're interested in Loyola. So I bet there's two different ones. So I would look into that. But most of the schools in this area, big schools, they invite other coaches as well. So it's definitely worth it if you want to play locally.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and you know, I'm learning about all this as well. I mean, I played college soccer, but I was kind of, you know, different coming from overseas, so I don't really know, you know, the competitiveness and the best way to go about it. So, just something else that you mentioned as well. So, you know, if we have, you know, juniors and seniors watching this, you know, what would, and, you know, they're thinking, hey, you know, North Park, I'm thinking about it. What's the best way to, you know, get in contact with you or get you interested in them?
Yeah, honestly, anything. Send an email is usually the best way. But I always, as much as I can, this is why these things are so important, is I think it's so important for players and students to know that just send an email, because that just puts your name on our radar. I mean, it's like applying for a job, right? When you go to apply for a job, they probably get, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 100 applications. So not all of them are, you know, there's so many names in there. And if somebody sends an email, then at least you're like, okay, I recognize that person's name. It doesn't have to be the perfect email or anything like that. Just put us on your radar, or put yourself on our radar, I guess. And then, you know, we'll start building that relationship. And most coaches, I would say, you know, are totally open to that. And especially if you're at the Division III level as well. And it kind of depends on the different levels that you go to. But, you know, we'll watch you play. We'll see. It starts from just, we need to know you exist. We need to know what team you play for. And then we'll kind of go from there. And then for me, it's like, you know, I'll be very honest with saying, hey, I think you could come in and compete for a starting spot. Hey, I think you have some growing to do, whatever. But regardless, it does not hurt you to do that. And I think there's a common misconception that, like, if I'm going to play college soccer, the coach will come find me. It's like, yeah, that does happen. But in some ways too, you have to put in the work and make yourself known. And then we can at least take a look at you. Because it's not always the case that, oh, the coach will come find me.
Yeah. Especially with all those kids in the city playing and around everywhere.
Right.
Have you ever had a student athlete call you up and ask about recruiting?
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer phone calls. I prefer, now when I say that, you know, if I get an email or whatever, I do a lot of texting, but I always like schedule a phone call because I think it's important to get to know each other over the phone. So I'm okay with a phone call. You know, I guess my only thing would be, the reason I like an email first is to let them know you're calling, just because I get a lot of spam. So that would be my only thing. But I really do appreciate a phone call and a recruit who's willing to talk on the phone.
Nice. And it probably sets them apart, right? Because my coach in college used to kind of, you know, when we used to go to his office, he would, you know, what do you think of this player? And he would have so many emails from people, right? So so maybe a phone call will, you know, set them aside a little bit, which is
and at least even taking the initiative to say you want to do a phone call, because, you know, I know that texting and stuff is such a huge thing now for students in high school, but players that are like, yeah, I want to get to know you on the phone, I want to talk to you and I have questions, kind of thing, that does set you apart.
Right. Cool. So we've had a lot about this as well. So, you know, we record a lot of our games and we get talking about the highlight tape all the time. So how important is it to you for an athlete to have a highlight tape and, you know, to be sending it out? Or is it more, you know, you going to watch them play live? What do you kind of prefer?
So my answer might have changed a little bit given this year. You know, I used to say not to stress out if you didn't have highlight video, because at the end of the day, I'd much rather, and if you're local, I'd much rather just see you play and I'll go watch you play. So that probably would have been my answer if it was last year. Now that we're here, I have been relying very heavily on highlight video. And I do think it's very important and makes everybody's job easier. So, you know, I think it's awesome that you guys have that resource for your players and are recording even scrimmages. But honestly, I think it's a really good way to just show what you have and make that introduction. So, you know, I watch so many highlight videos, and even like 30 seconds to just get a general idea. I mean, it doesn't take me very long to be like, okay, at least I have like a very general idea of the way you play. And then obviously I would want to come and watch you play, you know, live first, but if I need to rely on video, I will. So especially given this year and how things are kind of moving in our world, I find it to be very important and super helpful for us coaches.
Perfect. And so just to kind of piggyback off that question, like you said about this year and the whole pandemic, you know, how has it affected college recruiting? Because I saw a couple of days ago that a lot of athletes are having an extra year. So is that affecting anyone's recruiting, or how's that going to look?
Yeah. So to be honest, you know, I get this question a lot, and I feel a little bit, I feel more for the seniors, because as coaches, it's actually made our job a lot easier. Meaning normally I drive around everywhere. I'm going to showcases and watching people. But, you know, I'm doing it all from my computer at my house. So in that aspect, it's made it easier from, you know, being able to see more people and using video more often. It does make it a little bit easier, but it does make it challenging in the sense of not being able to see people play live, which is obviously the goal. That's what we would like. You know, and I think it's, what was the second part of that question? I think I'm missing.
It was about how seniors are having an extra year, so
yeah,
they're going to impact roster
right. Yeah, so the NCAA is giving eligibility to this year pretty much doesn't count, so we're able to have an extra year. Most seniors, I would say, at least for us, and I've heard this feedback from a lot of other college coaches, is that a lot of seniors are not really taking advantage of this extra year of eligibility, because at this point they've kind of completed all their requirements. It's almost like they'd be taking like 5 art classes in order to play soccer. So, you know, I don't think many seniors are taking advantage of it, but actually I think a lot of, it'll be interesting to see more so in about 2 to 3 years, how many like freshmen now and sophomores now are taking advantage of it, because they actually get their year of eligibility back also. So this doesn't count for anybody. So every single person is not, you know, like 2020 basically doesn't count as far, and actually our spring shouldn't count for eligibility either. Meaning, you know, I have some girls right now where if they decide that they want to take a little bit of a lighter load and stay for a 5th year, they'll have that year of eligibility back. So for me, I'm not really seeing it being much affected now. Like my seniors are like, I'm done. I mean, I want to play, but I don't have anything else to take. So, but I do think in a few years we might notice that some of these younger players are taking advantage of that 5th year.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was just for seniors. I didn't realize it was for everyone. So
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
know.
I'm trying to think if I would want to have stayed an extra year in college, or if I just wanted to graduate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. I definitely see it though. Like, you know, if you find out now you don't have any other classes to take, I don't know really what I would do. From a soccer perspective, I definitely would have wanted to say.
Yeah, 100%. So I know, North Parks, they're in Division 3.
Yes.
And I know you mentioned briefly scholarships before. So a lot of our players, I've seen a lot of their target lists, and there's a lot of D1s, D2s, you know, some NAA. So with them not offering scholarships at Division 3, you know, should that put a player off? And then why do you think Division 3 would be an attractive option for a college player, future college player?
Well, I love this question. And I'm a good hype man for Division 3, and I'll do my pitch here. But, you know, so first of all, from the scholarship standpoint, there's a lot of scholarship options, especially at Division 3 schools, because they are small private. And so a common misconception is that you go Division 1, Division 2, NAIA, and you get a scholarship and it's cheaper. Well, yeah, you might get a scholarship, but sometimes I've seen, you know, been comparing financial aid packages where someone has a, you know, scholarship NAIA, and then, you know, for example, North Park's financial aid package, and we're actually cheaper. And so just because of the difference in scholarships. And so I always say, you know, look into a school, don't count it out, and wait until you get that bottom line number, because I think it feels good sometimes to, obviously, if you're getting a scholarship to play NAIA, but it might not end up being cheaper than a Division 3 option. So first on that scholarship side, that's kind of the first part. On the second hand, as far as playing Division 3, one of the things, and I am actually taking this from the words of some of my players, that, you know, sometimes I have them on recruit calls. And one of the things that they talk about a lot is how because nobody is on scholarship, there is not this level of, oh, this person has a full ride, this person has, you know, is getting X amount of dollars. Like, people don't have scholarships, so we're all playing because we want to. We're playing from heart. We're playing and competing because we want to be there. Yeah. You know, I don't own you. So if you wanna quit, then, I mean, obviously that hopefully doesn't happen, but it's not like you're tied to this. You know, you're playing because you genuinely want to be there, and the heart and the passion is very much so there. I'm not saying it's not there in other divisions. It's more, I'm just, from my experience in this place, that is one of the things that not only I've seen, but from the words of our players is so encouraging, knowing that they show up and they can be like, hey, we choose to be here. We are here because we want to be here. We are here because we love the game, that we love each other. We love the school. We're so passionate about this. So for me, that is invaluable. That is something that I think is a huge benefit to Division III. The other thing is, you can find super competitive options in Division III. Right. That's another common misconception, is that it's always, differed by the level based on division. And while yes, top Division I schools are going to blow out probably many Division III teams, but the top Division III teams, many of those players should be playing Division I, or they could be playing Division I. And so the level of competition too is very much so high depending on where you go. And so you want to look into that as well. And you want to look into not only how's the school, but how's their conference and what's their competition look like.
Right. That was a good pitch. That was very good. I saw the passion for D3.
I talk about it a lot. My husband started Division I and then transferred to North Park. And so he has both experiences, and he says 10 times out of 10, his Division III experience was better for him than Division I. And for that exact reason that we talked about.
Perfect. Sounds good. So next couple of questions are probably for more the parents. Because we always try and say, and other coaches we've spoken to, it's all about being a student athlete, right? So student first. So in terms of being a student athlete, what's the kind of day-to-day, in season, and then what's kind of, in off season, what's required of them in terms of soccer and then academics as well?
Yeah. So, another very common question is kind of what's that transition like? Obviously, college is a different caliber as far as both level in soccer and also in the classroom. My biggest example is that the level is higher. So when you're in the classroom, the level in the classroom is higher. The level at soccer is higher. Everything is just kind of like a notch above as far as level. So it will be harder per se. Right. Now the thing in college that I really try and explain is that it's all about time management, because you actually have a lot more time in college than you do probably currently. So I always kind of break it down backwards by saying, okay, a high school student, they're in the classroom, or they wake up and they go to school at like 7 a.m. and they're in class until like 2 or 3 p.m. right? And they're there all day, and then they go to soccer, right? And then they don't get home till like 6 p.m. maybe. And then they have dinner and then homework. And so they're just busy. And I think about that. I'm like, how did I do that? But in college, that's not the case, right? You're not in the classroom from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So, you might have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, two classes each day, Tuesday, Thursday class, whatever. And so you have, maybe an 8 a.m. and then you're done with class by noon. And so you have 3 hours until practice. So my point in saying all of this is it's all about how you manage your time. So when you're in season, for us, we have 2 games per week, so Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then we have practice every day, and Sunday is your off day. And we have practice around 3 to 5 p.m. And so, kind of with the example I used earlier, you might have 2 classes and then several hours throughout the day and in the evening to do your homework. And so, and that's something that we really value at North Park. I know a lot of schools do the same. We, for one, do study tables with our group as well, which is, study sessions where we get the girls together. And I know a lot of schools do the same. And so that's what it is during season. I've actually found that girls perform better in the classroom when you're in season, because it's a little bit more structured. Right. Having structure is actually good for you. Whenever we're done with soccer, and I find this with my own life, whenever I have so much time, I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I'm less productive than when I have a busy schedule. So that's what it's like in season, and that goes from August to November. And then when we're out of season, it's a little bit similar, although that 3 to 5 p.m. for practice time is replaced with like workouts. And so we usually do 2 to 3 times a week. We'll work with our strength and conditioning coach. And then we also have an indoor turf where girls can do play arounds. So we do that. And so it's kind of year round, but it's less intense out of season. So I don't know, does that kind of help answer your question a little bit? I feel like I was kind of all over the place, but it's all about time management.
No, it's very good. It is very tough. I remember when I was playing in college, it was very tough. You'd usually have to go to practice after you'd been at in class all day, and then you'd literally have to run down to the cafeteria to eat something before you get home, and then you could like do your homework. And just kind of going on the academic side again. So I like to tell this story to all our high school parents and players. Is one of the best players I ever played with. He was from Argentina. I played with him in college in Iowa, and he was amazing. Like stuff he could do with a softball was great. He lasted one season because his grades were terrible. So in terms of, I mean, this was on the player side. Now I know from the coach's side. Is that pretty common, or is it, have you ever had experience with that, or how strict are these student athletes that they have to be good in the classroom to actually be able to play?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, unfortunately. You always, hopefully don't see it too often, but it happens every once in a while. I think most coaches, myself included, I mean, you can't even do anything soccer related until you take care of your academics. We are student athletes. We're students first, then athletes, which again, going back to kind of Division III is also a huge benefit of Division III. You do have more time to focus on your academics. And so with that being said, we have no tolerance really for that. And so we really will do everything we can. We do as many check-ins as possible so that if and when there is any type of slip up, you did bad on a test, or, you're worried about your grade or whatever it is, we'll take care of it head on. And so, we are a small school, meaning whether this is a good or a bad thing for students, I know a lot of professors. I reach out to them. I talk with them. And I really encourage our girls to come to us with any issue, even if they don't want to. And then, we work with the professor on a plan as to how we're going to get it back on track. Now, in a perfect world, that all sounds great, that every single girl is going to come to us with every failed test, but that doesn't always happen. And so really where you find these issues and that story that you're talking about happens is because they're not communicating. And then they tell us, like, I get a text today when the semester ends in a week saying, "Hey coach, I'm nervous. I'm not going to pass." Well, I can't help you now because there's only 7 days left of the semester. Had you done that 2 months ago, maybe we could have, sat down with the professor and said, "Hey, what's a good plan to get us back on track?" So, it's all about communication. It's all about, a little bit of autonomy. And so we talk about a lot on our team is that there's a ton of support for you, specifically at our school, but every school. There's a lot of support for you, but the biggest difference between high school and college is now you have to ask for it. You have to ask for help. You can't just sit there. No one's like holding your hand. No one's breathing down your neck, which is a good thing, but now you have to ask for the help. It's all there. It's there for you, but you have to ask. So I try and send that message.
And so when you're looking at high school athletes, is grades one of the first things you look at?
I mean, absolutely. It's something I look at kind of in two parts. So number one, it's, okay, are they going to get accepted? So obviously I want to see if they will meet our requirements. But then the second thing is if I have access to their grades, or if they show me their transcripts, or if we're able to talk about it, I would like to know your trends. I'll ask, like, what kind of study habits are you? Have you struggled at all? If you have a 4.0, I probably won't have to ask you too much about that. But if you are, below a 3, or even, low 3s, I might be like, did you have a year where you struggled? Tell me about that, And so I like to know, before students come to our school. But then also, if you choose North Park, I'll do a sit down with every single one of you. We'll talk about academics, and we'll say, are you good? Are you a good study taker? What do you need help with? What do you struggle with? What's your class? So I do want to know. And I keep track of that for my current players. And then as a prospective student, it's more so to kind of figure out, are we gonna have issues here? I want to make sure that you're gonna be eligible and play, and we're not gonna lose you after one semester.
Yeah, you want to worry about how they're playing on the field and not
exactly.
Not yeah, I've heard
exactly.
that before. Okay, and then so finally, so say if we have a 2021 graduate or a 2022 graduate that's watching this, and like what they heard from you, and thinking about North Park, are there any specific players you're looking for now or are you kind of just open to anything at the moment in terms of position?
Yeah. I mean, kind of both, which sounds kind of weird, but, so obviously, you know, I'm never going to turn away a position. Like we're really looking for everything, from a sense that we're looking to bring in a large 2021 class and then large 2022 class. We're trying to increase our numbers and really just this program. Yeah. So we are pretty much open to all positions. I will say, looking at and evaluating what we have, we are very offensive heavy. And so we are looking for some strong defenders. Being our program, you know, this is my first year as head coach. Our assistant coach is new as well. And so a lot of new and a lot of change. And I think that is a huge opportunity for players that, you know, want to come in and they know, you know, we haven't played any games yet. I don't know what our starting 11 looks like because we haven't played in any games. And, you know, so we're bringing in this large class. So 2021, it's like, if you're a player and you're watching this and you're like, I, you know, want to stay local. Our conference is super competitive, you know, and I want to be able to come in and earn a starting spot. Like, that opportunity is there. You have to take it. And, you know, I never make promises, but I guess my point is next year, I'm not worried about if you're a senior or a freshman or anything like that. I'm looking at whoever shows up at preseason day one. You know, I'm going to pick the best 11. I'm going to pick the best 11, the 11 that worked the hardest. And obviously, you know, not just 11 players play, but my point is that it's a great opportunity right now for us here at North Park. We're open to really all positions and players that are ready to come in and take advantage of this opportunity.
That sounds great. So I think we've been through a lot. Very informative. It's a great advert for Division 3 and North Park. So you know, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll kind of stay in touch and try and, you know, get some players and interested, and you know, maybe we could come out and watch a game again, or
that'd be great. That'd be great. I really appreciate you thinking of me to do this. And I think it's so awesome what you're doing, and even giving any type of education on this is, I think, so important. So I think this is great. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good holidays.
Yeah, you too.
And hopefully everyone will be back on the field soon. So.
I know. I sure hope so.
All right. Take care.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much. You too. Bye.
Bye.